Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly forgotten why you went there in the first place? Or maybe you've struggled to remember a simple word that used to come naturally just a few years ago. Most people brush it off and say, "Well, I'm just getting older." But what if I told you that memory loss doesn't begin when someone can no longer recognize family members? In many cases, the brain starts changing quietly years, even decades, before the first serious symptoms appear. And that's what makes this so dangerous. The brain often sends subtle warning signs long before people realize something is wrong. The problem is, most of us ignore them. Now here's the good news. Modern research is discovering that certain everyday foods may help support memory, protect brain cells, and reduce the chronic inflammation linked to cognitive decline. Simple foods, affordable foods, foods you can find in almost any grocery store across Canada. And in today's video, I'm going to show you 6 science-backed foods that may help support long-term brain health and memory as we age. Make sure you stay until the end, because the 6th ingredient is probably already sitting somewhere in your kitchen right now. Yet very few people realize how powerful it may be for the brain. Welcome to the channel. I'm Dr. William Bennet, and here we talk about healthy aging, brain health, nutrition, and longevity in a simple and practical way. If you care about staying mentally sharp after 50 or 60, subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. It helps more people discover information that could genuinely improve their quality of life. Now let's begin. The first food may be one of the strongest natural allies for memory and mental clarity. Berries, blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, raspberries. These small fruits are packed with compounds that researchers have been studying for years because of their effects on the aging brain. The key players are flavonoids and anthocyanins. Complicated names? Yes. But the idea is simple. These natural compounds help protect brain cells from oxidative stress and inflammation, 2 major factors associated with cognitive decline over time. As we age, the brain slowly experiences wear and tear. It's almost like the neurons begin to rust from the inside due to years of inflammation and cellular damage. And this is where berries become incredibly important. Several studies have found that people who regularly eat blueberries and other berries tend to maintain better memory and cognitive performance as they age. Some researchers believe these compounds may even help improve communication between brain cells. In other words, berries may help the brain stay more efficient and resilient over time. And the best part? You don't need huge amounts. Even a small serving a few times a week may provide meaningful long-term benefits. Many people spend hundreds of dollars on expensive supplements while completely overlooking foods that are already sitting in the produce aisle. Now let's move to the second food, one of the most overlooked nutrients for adults over 60, fatty fish, especially sardines. I know some people immediately lose interest when they hear the word sardines. But wait until you hear what can happen inside the brain when this nutrient is missing. Because your brain is made up of nearly 60% fat. And one of the most important fats for memory and cognitive function is DHA, a critical omega-3 fatty acid. The problem is, your body cannot produce enough of it on its own. And when the brain doesn't receive enough DHA, communication between neurons can become less efficient. Signals slow down. Mental sharpness begins to fade. And over time, people may start noticing things like poor concentration, brain fog, or increasing forgetfulness. Sardines are one of the richest natural sources of DHA in the world. And what makes this even more interesting is that we're not talking about an expensive superfood or some trendy supplement promoted online. We're talking about a simple food that's affordable, easy to find in Canadian grocery stores, and incredibly powerful for the aging brain. For years, researchers have tried to understand why some populations experience lower rates of cognitive decline and dementia as they age. Again and again, one major factor keeps appearing: diet. The DHA found in sardines helps maintain the flexibility of neuron membranes. In simple terms, it helps brain cells communicate more effectively with each other. Think of your neurons like electrical wires. When they're properly nourished, signals travel quickly and clearly. But when the brain lacks the nutrients it needs, communication becomes slower and less efficient. And that's often when people begin saying things like, "I keep forgetting little things lately. I can't focus the way I used to. My mind feels foggy all the time." Of course, aging is a natural part of life. But the brain doesn't age based only on the number of birthdays you've had. It also ages according to what you consistently feed it. Sardines also contain vitamin D, selenium, and high-quality protein, nutrients that play an important role in supporting the nervous system and brain function. And no, you don't need to eat large amounts. Even 2 servings a week may provide meaningful support for long-term cognitive health. Now I want to talk about something many Canadians already have in their kitchen, but often use the wrong way: extra virgin olive oil. And this next detail is extremely important. Not all olive oils are created equal. When researchers talk about brain benefits, they're referring specifically to high-quality extra virgin olive oil, the less processed kind, rich in natural polyphenols and protective compounds. Several long-term studies linked to the Mediterranean diet have found that people who regularly consume extra virgin olive oil tend to show lower rates of cognitive decline over time. But why? One reason may be a natural compound called oleocanthal. Researchers became very interested in this substance because it appears to help the brain clear certain toxic proteins associated with Alzheimer's disease, including beta-amyloid plaques. In other words, extra virgin olive oil may help support the brain's natural cleaning system. And here's the mistake many people make without realizing it: using it at very high heat. Excessive heat can damage some of the most valuable compounds found in the oil. That's why many nutrition experts recommend using extra virgin olive oil raw whenever possible, over salads, vegetables, whole grain toast, or added after cooking. Just 1 or 2 tablespoons a day may already make a difference. Now think about this for a second. For years, people have searched for miracle solutions in expensive pills and complicated health trends. Meanwhile, one of the most researched foods for brain health has been sitting in kitchens for centuries. Now let's move to the 4th food, one of the most underrated foods for protecting the brain as we age: dark leafy greens, spinach, kale, Swiss chard, collard greens, simple vegetables that are loaded with folate and B vitamins, nutrients strongly connected to brain health and circulation. These vitamins help regulate something called homocysteine, and this part is extremely important. When homocysteine levels become too high, they may damage the small blood vessels responsible for carrying oxygen and nutrients to the brain. Over time, this can contribute to inflammation, poor circulation, and accelerated cognitive decline. The scary part? Many people have elevated homocysteine levels without ever knowing it, and the brain may quietly suffer the consequences for years. Dark leafy greens may not seem exciting. In fact, most people overlook them completely when thinking about brain health. But what these vegetables do inside the body is far more important than most people realize. When eaten regularly, foods like spinach, kale, and Swiss chard help support the tiny blood vessels responsible for feeding the brain. And a well-nourished brain means better oxygen flow, more energy for neurons, and stronger communication between brain cells. Several studies have found that adults who regularly consume leafy greens tend to maintain better cognitive performance as they age compared to those who rarely eat them. And here's the good news: you don't need complicated recipes or expensive meal plans. A bowl of spinach, a serving of kale, a homemade vegetable soup, a fresh salad a few times a week. Simple habits can create powerful long-term effects, because when it comes to brain health, consistency matters far more than perfection. Now let's move to a food that surprises almost everyone when they discover how important it may be for the brain: Brazil nuts. Yes, those large, rich nuts that many people only eat occasionally around the holidays. Brazil nuts are one of the richest natural sources of selenium on the planet, and selenium plays a critical role in protecting the nervous system. Its main job is helping the body fight oxidative stress, one of the major processes involved in aging and damage to brain cells. Think of oxidative stress like a slow internal attack happening inside the brain over many years. And selenium acts almost like a protective shield against that damage. Researchers have found that low selenium levels are associated with a greater risk of cognitive decline and memory problems later in life. Now here's the incredible part. You often need only one Brazil nut per day to get an excellent amount of selenium. Just one. Sometimes, the simplest habits create the biggest impact over time. Now prepare yourself, because we're about to talk about one of the most studied natural ingredients in the world of brain health today, an ancient root used for centuries in traditional cooking and natural medicine, but now attracting enormous attention from scientists around the world: turmeric, also known as the golden spice. Its active compound is called curcumin, and this is where things become truly fascinating. Researchers became interested in curcumin for two major reasons. First, its anti-inflammatory properties. Many experts now believe chronic inflammation inside the brain may play a major role in cognitive decline and neurodegenerative diseases over time. Curcumin appears to help reduce some of that silent inflammation. But the second reason is what really captured scientific attention. Some studies suggest curcumin may be able to cross the blood-brain barrier, the brain's natural protective filter, and once there, researchers believe it may help interfere with the buildup of toxic proteins associated with Alzheimer's disease. That's why turmeric has become one of the most discussed natural compounds in brain health research over the last decade. Now let me be clear, turmeric is not a miracle cure. No single food can completely prevent dementia or memory loss. But science is becoming increasingly clear about one thing. Your daily habits shape your brain's future more than most people realize. And there's one small trick that can make turmeric dramatically more effective: adding black pepper. Black pepper contains a compound called piperine, which may increase curcumin absorption by an astonishing amount. That's why many people now add turmeric and black pepper to soups, rice, roasted vegetables, teas, and even smoothies. A simple habit, but one that may support the brain for years to come. And now I want to reveal one final bonus food that's probably already sitting in your kitchen right now. It's inexpensive, common, used almost every day. Yet researchers are increasingly interested in its potential connection to memory and healthy aging. And once you hear what it is, you'll never look at it the same way again. The bonus food I want to talk about is garlic. Yes, the same garlic you probably use almost every day in soups, pasta sauces, roasted vegetables, or homemade meals. For decades, garlic was viewed simply as a cooking ingredient. But today, researchers are paying much closer attention to its possible effects on heart health, circulation, and even brain function. Garlic contains natural sulfur compounds, especially one called allicin. And this is where things become very interesting. Allicin has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties that may help protect brain cells from oxidative damage over time. In simple terms, it may help the brain defend itself against the silent processes linked to aging and cognitive decline. Several observational studies have found that people who regularly consume garlic as part of a balanced diet often maintain better cognitive performance as they get older. But there's one detail that most people have never heard before. When you crush or chop garlic, it's best to let it sit for about 10 minutes before cooking it. Why? Because that resting time helps activate the natural formation of allicin. Such a small habit, but potentially a very important one. Now I want you to stop for a moment and think about everything we covered today. Berries to help protect brain cells from oxidative stress. Fatty fish rich in omega-3s to support neuron communication. Extra virgin olive oil to help the brain's natural cleaning system. Dark leafy greens to protect blood vessels and circulation. Brazil nuts for selenium and antioxidant protection. Turmeric and black pepper to help fight silent inflammation. And garlic, one of the simplest foods in your kitchen, supporting healthy aging from the inside out. None of these foods are exotic. None of them are impossible to find. In fact, many of them are already part of everyday meals across Canada and North America. And maybe that's the most important message of all. Brain health isn't built overnight, and memory loss rarely happens overnight either. Your brain is shaped slowly over the years by your daily habits, your lifestyle, your sleep, your stress levels, and especially by the foods you consistently eat. Many people wait until memory problems become serious before they start paying attention. But real prevention begins much earlier. It starts in the small choices repeated consistently over time. Going for daily walks, sleeping better, reducing ultra-processed foods and excess sugar, eating more whole foods, managing stress, staying socially active. Because often, it's not extreme changes that protect the brain. It's the small habits we maintain for decades. And if there's one thing I hope you take away from today's video, it's this. It's never too late to start taking care of your brain. Even small improvements made consistently can have a powerful impact on memory, independence, and quality of life as you age. If you found this video helpful, share it with someone you care about. A parent, a spouse, a friend, or anyone who wants to stay mentally sharp later in life. And I'd love to know in the comments, which of these foods do you already eat regularly? I'm Dr. William Bennet. Thank you so much for spending these minutes with me. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications if you'd like more science-based videos about healthy aging, brain health, nutrition, and longevity after 50 and 60. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.